Well, Surrey City Councillor Linda Annis wants the Surrey Police Service to have increased access to the city's 500 traffic cameras. And that proposal comes after an increase in extortion and gang related activity in Surrey. We've talked a lot about that on our program. We've even held a special town hall. Here is Linda Annis speaking this week.
Oftentimes when extortion attempts happen, particularly if there's shots fired, it takes a few minutes for the call to go into the police and then the police to deal with it. And by the time they're actually on scene or able to get some evidence, several minutes, if not hours, have passed. By being able to get live footage, real-time coverage, it will help them determine where the cars are fleeing to from the scene. So we really, really need to make sure that Surrey Police Service gets access to these cameras immediately.
So that is Surrey City Councillor Linda Annis calling for around-the-clock police access to Surrey's traffic camera network to help fight crime. Not everybody agrees with giving the police more access, though, including our next guest. Tamir Israel is the director of the Privacy, Surveillance and Technology Program at the Canadian Civil Liberties Association. And Tamir's been good enough to join us this morning. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Stephen. Thanks so much for having me on.
Thanks for taking the time with us. First off, your reaction to the proposal you just heard there from City Councillor Annis.
Yeah, so this proposal raises, I was definitely concerned to hear this, and for two highly interrelated reasons. The first relates to how intrusive it is to grant police direct and centralized access to an extensive network of cameras like this, and the need to have really careful scrutiny when an intrusive step like that is taken. Currently, police do have access to the camera footage, as we heard, but they need to justify their access to the city on a case-by-case basis. And granting access directly bypasses this important check and balance, and it raises a heightened risk of potential abuse. So to give an example, the city might be skeptical of a request from police to get live footage of what we know historically was a very peaceful political protest. Once the police have centralized access to live camera feeds, they're also able to deploy a host of highly intrusive and problematic AI tools that are becoming more common in policing. And here we're talking about different software that uses algorithms to monitor and analyze videos in different ways. These tools can be highly intrusive and error-prone, and they're shaping the ways that police interact with the public in really disturbing ways. And once police have live access to camera networks, deploying tools like this becomes a direct capability. So for these reasons, it's a very intrusive step to be taken. And the second set of concerns that I'll just lay out briefly is the way in which the decision was being made. Mm-hmm. So Surrey built this large network of cameras for the narrow and specific purpose of monitoring traffic. And when you take a network like that was deployed for one particular reason and repurpose it ex post, first, it's concerning because it undermines confidence in existing restrictions. And second, you're losing opportunities to make carefully considered decisions. And I'll give one brief example. When police are setting up police-related networks, camera networks, very careful decisions and considerations are made regarding where to place the cameras. And these are very different considerations from when you're putting cameras in place for traffic monitoring. So for example, for a police camera, you may not want it pointing at, let's say, a health clinic so that every person who enters or leaves the clinic is recorded. For a traffic camera, maybe that's less concerning.
But in this case, though, you have a real problem with violence associated to extortion in the city of Surrey. We've seen it over and over again. Shootings have become routine, people's houses being targeted, people's cars being burned, and so on. If police can trace the route of, for instance, a suspect vehicle in one of these cases, is that not helpful? Could we not put guardrails in place to make sure that police are using it for its intended purpose?
Yes, indeed. And part of the problem is the lack of guardrails for both the ways that these decisions are made and for, how, and the guardrails that are accessed when police do have direct access like this. So for example, in a live shooting situation or a live extortion situation, as and the police in Surrey are dealing with this very, very dramatic problem. Mm-hmm. This is an emergency situation, and you could create a situation where, live access is, or more faster access is granted in emergency situations. For example, for police, without the type of scrutiny that you have in other situations. And even imposing that level of limitation would reduce the ability for abuse, because you would still have the case-by-case supervision in other instances. But more generally, what we need, I think, is a more comprehensive framework for the way that these decisions are being put in place and being made. And we don't have that framework. So the decisions are made on an ad hoc basis. And here, maybe this decision could be justified, but the fact that you don't need to go to, say, an independent regulator and make your case to the independent regulator that this specific type of access is required to address a very direct problem creates concerns that other types of intrusive tools will be layered on without, in other instances, without that level of scrutiny as well.
Sure, but just about everybody I know has one camera or another outside their house, or even their rented apartments in some cases. They're everywhere. Sometimes they'll post images from those cameras up on social media to say, hey, look out for this person who was trying to open my door last night, and that kind of thing. I mean, is this any more intrusive than what private citizens are doing?
Considerably so, because you're talking about a highly centralized network of cameras that's able to canvass the entire city, and also with the ability, with direct access to the camera network and the algorithmic tools that police are going to be able to layer onto this. It's a difference in kind, especially without the confidence that we won't have an addition. And sorry, I should say, Surrey Police was no indication that they're looking to add on these AI tools currently, but without the framework in place to scrutinize these types of shifting decisions, we won't have the scrutiny in place to around that decision either. So that's the concern. And I'll just give you one quick example. So facial recognition is a highly intrusive technology. We're seeing police forces beginning to consider layering that on to live camera feeds, and that would give police the ability to basically just upload a photo to find anyone and canvas essentially in a second the entire city to find a person based on a facial recognition match. It's also an error-prone technology that has a lot of false positives that are and there's a lot of discriminatory bias in the way that the technology works. So often people of color are misidentified, and this could really have a dramatic impact on individuals if the technology is adopted without the proper scrutiny to make sure that it's fit for purpose, the errors have been vetted, et cetera. So it is a very dramatic and different sort of expansion than individuals uploading their photos.
Tamir, we'll leave it there this morning. Thank you so much for the time.
Thanks so much for having me on.
All right, you take care. Bye-bye now. That's Tamir Israel, the director of the Privacy Surveillance and Technology Program at the Canadian Civil Liberties Association. And for more on this, we are joined by Eli Sopow. He is a retired BC RCMP civilian analyst and former national director of research with the RCMP Change Management Project. He teaches as well. He was a reporter with CBC and with Global News for many years. Good morning to you, Eli.
Good morning and Happy New Year.
And a Happy New Year to you. It's very good to talk with you.
Thank you.
What do you think of the City of Surrey Police Service's call for immediate access to the traffic cameras to be able to tackle, as they say, tackle crime in real time?
Well, it's a no-brainer, actually, when you think about it. What we're seeing today with policing worldwide, and I think all our research shows the same thing, is that the public very much supports any innovations for policing, public safety, that kind of thing, that, of course, stay within some kind of boundaries of civil liberties as well. I mean, it really, when you think about this, Stephen, you and I or any one of your listeners can go on the internet right now and look at a traffic camera in downtown Vancouver or see if it's snowing in the Coquihalla. These things are ubiquitous. They're absolutely everywhere. It's in some places, like, for example, England, as we all know, they have not just traffic cameras, they have thousands of public safety cameras throughout the whole city that are in real time and watching what's going on. So frankly, it's really a good point. And if I could just add one more quick thing, what we're facing, and not so much as a debate about the police accessing cameras, but really is technology is moving so fast today, whether it's AI or IT or whatever it might be, moving much faster, light speed, compared to legislation and rules and regulations about access to these things.
And I guess, I mean, you're right. Those cameras are in place, and we can, go on to Drive BC and have a look at just about any traffic camera in the province or any traffic camera in the city on the City of Vancouver's website. But those cameras are, they've been installed for a purpose of helping managing traffic. They haven't been installed for monitoring, criminals. Does it make a difference that you're going to try to use them for a different use?
Well, sure. I mean, Surrey, if my recollection of Stats Canada is correct, it has about 184,000 residences that are with people living in them in Surrey. How many of those actually have a doorbell safety camera or something mounted on the edge of their east troughs? Who knows for sure, because those kind of stats are not kept. But even if it was only 10%, that would be what, 18,000 homes that already are looking out on the street. And the police know this for a fact. Surrey, by the way, has a really good program. I'm just looking at my notes here. It's called the Iris Project. And what they've asked is that any home that actually has security cameras built in, and there are many, to contact SPS, Surrey Police Service, and sign up. So to let the police know that they have such things. So therefore, after a crime is committed, they don't have to go walking around knocking on doors with their shoe leather. They could just phone these people who have volunteered to let the police know that they have these kind of cameras. So these innovations, they're yet another tool in policing and public safety, right?
I suppose. What have you been hearing from the public on how they feel about the increased access?
That's a good question, and it depends, right? We do a lot of surveys, my colleagues and I, and really depends on the community, the level of crime, the type of population, those kind of things. Now, Surrey right now has, a bit of a problem with certain crimes,
Hmm.
and especially people with shootings and that kind of thing. Well, the moment any type of sensational crime, let's call it that, goes up in the public mind, the public wants more protection. Basically, what do we want from police? Well, all our surveys show we want them to be present. We want to see them. We want them to respond quickly, and they want to keep us safe. And that's basically the package. And if we don't see that happening, we are in favor of additional resources or different interventions to keep us safe. By the way, in Surrey, my colleagues and I, we did public opinion surveys there over the last few years, not so much with cameras, but on the streets, but with body worn cameras by police officers. Overwhelming support, way above 80% of the public says that's a great idea, not only for community safety, but the safety of police officers, but also the safety of recording events as they take place.
Eli, you can see the cameras having some use after the fact. When a crime is committed, you go back and you find tape. You might be able to get a license plate number or something, the make or model of a vehicle or the description of a suspect. But do those cameras do anything to prevent crime from happening?
Well, it's a psychological thing, isn't it? It depends again. These things are very situational. If you are a criminal that unfortunately might be suffering from, let's say, mental illness or those kind of things where you really don't have much control over your emotions or actions, probably not. It's not the first thing on their mind necessarily. And again, studies out of Australia and a few other countries saying, well, what's the value of these things in reducing crime? It does help, apparently, in the surveys worldwide, that it reduces crimes of things breaking into homes, parkades, those kinds of things,
Hmm.
what are generally called non-violent violent crimes. So there is a deterrent for certain people under certain conditions. And I think the general public, generally, when we ask them, would you prefer something that lends to your safety or not? They say, sure. Now, does it infringe on civil liberties? That's really a big question, because once again, the advent of technology today for policing or in anything is moving at light speed, whereas legislation, rules, and fences around that to protect civil liberties is moving at a snail's pace. So there's a bit of a gap here.
And it's interesting that you mentioned civil liberties, because yesterday we spoke with Tamir Israel at the Canadian Civil Liberties Association. Here he is just talking a bit about how some of the concerns he has about this 24/7 access to cameras.
Raises a heightened risk of potential abuse. So to give an example, the city might be skeptical of a request from police to get live footage of what we know historically was a very peaceful political protest. Once the police have centralized access to live camera feeds, they're also able to deploy a host of highly intrusive and problematic AI tools that are becoming more common in policing. And here we're talking about different software that uses algorithms to monitor and analyze videos in different ways. These tools can be highly intrusive and error prone, and they're shaping the ways that police interact with the public in really disturbing ways.
Wondering what you make of those concerns, Eli.
Well, it's 2026 and it's not 1926. Because let me put it this way, I was speaking to actually law enforcement well, it was in England, but they have security cameras everywhere and they have facial recognition there and some other countries as well in other cities. Here's the story. A little child was lost. It's a true story. A little child was lost. The mother went up to the local police officer on the street. She said, oh my gosh, I have a picture here of my child. I don't know what happened to her. Where is she? Police officer looked at the picture, snapped a photo on his electronic device, went to their real-time security and safety center. And that picture, because of the facial recognition component, which we're not going to have, but because of that, that child was found within a very, very short time, almost minutes, because of the ability to scan. Scary? Useful? Definitely.
I'm sure, but finding a lost child is probably not how the majority of uses of the facial recognition software come about.
No, it's not. But is it a good thing or a bad thing? If you ask the general public, as we sometimes do, if there are bad guys in the street that pose a severe threat to you, or even very severe, like terrorism or something like that, would you like to see them recognized ahead of time rather than try to chase them after the fact? And the general conclusion is, yeah, I'd rather feel safe. Now, I know the gentleman you interviewed yesterday was worried about things like facial recognition, and we're not talking about that. But his concern was that there could be false negatives. In other words, you're picking somebody out that's really not that person. True that, and that's not an issue of debate in Surrey at
Right.
all. It's traffic cameras, which are pretty benign things, actually.
Eli, good to hear you. Thank you so much for the time. We appreciate it.
Thanks. I hope you have a good year.
You too. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye.
That's Eli Sopow, who's a retired BC RCMP civilian analyst, former national director of research with the RCMP Change Management Project.